So for my project 3, I was working with the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo, and I'm going to do a video essay as my final project piece. The history of the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo needs some context in order for their protest movement to truly make sense. Up until 1976, Peronism had dominated Argentine politics for about 3 decades. Peronism, started by Juan Domingo Perón, is characterized by strong socialized economics, which is meant to combat the poverty that was attributed to wealth gaps in Argentina, but it is also characterized by strong nationalism. The military of Argentina opposed Peronism and, led by Jorge Rafael Videla, attempted to overthrow the government, particularly Isabel Perón, the president. They were successful, and this military government had control of the state for the next 7 years. This government opposed Peronism so much that any proponents of Peronism ran the risk of being executed or exiled by the state. This is where the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo step in. Because many of the people who were considered los desaparecidos were young people, the mothers became very active, as it was their children who were being targeted by the state. The Mothers of the Plaza de Mayo was officially founded in 1977. The mothers did not protest directly against the political ideology of the state. Rather, their only real goal of protest was to be reunited with their lost children. Nina Cortinez, one of the mothers, detailed this in an interview with Mabel Belushi in 1999. She explains that it is hard for the state to label them as threats when they are only being seen as mothers. So, moving on to explanations for how the mothers were so successful, and then how this was related to more successful protest movements in Latin America. In Latin American studies, particularly Latin American gender studies, there's a well-documented dichotomy within the way female sexuality is perceived. There exists a stereotype under which young Latin American women are overly sexualized and rarely cast as complex characters, rather only viewed in terms of their sexuality. In contrast with this, older women in the Latin American community are viewed only as mothers and are viewed as only living their lives through protecting and caring for their children. Though these stereotypes are inaccurate, the mothers have strategically leveraged the way they are perceived into creating the universal appeal, as people are accustomed with mothers devoting themselves to their kids. An additional aspect contributed to their success was their association with the physical space, the Plaza de Mayo. Amelia Bondrea and Maria Duda's piece in the Journal of Research and Gender Studies details the use of historical public space as a method of changing public perception. The Plaza de Mayo was associated with the government of Argentina, along with the Catholic Church, dating back to 1810. In 1945, the square was used by thousands to protest for the release of Juan Domingo Perón. Then, in 1953, there was a bombing in the square that was traced back to the opposition of the Peróns. This was seen from Argentina as an act of terrorism, and the square became associated with the distrust of the anti-Peronism movement. When the mothers came along, it was not long before the square became primarily associated with their movement, and in a way that had taken the existing relevance of the plaza to use in promoting their own initiative. The mothers created universal appeal, tried to keep their message as being as removed from politics as possible, and use recognizable public space to further their message. In protest movements that arose after the mothers saw a major success in the disassembling of the military state in 1983, these characteristics were carried on. In fact, 2 major political movements happening in 2020 are in Chile and Bolivia. These uprisings against oppressive governments are becoming common in Latin America, to the point where some are referring to now as a Latin American Spring. By exemplifying a successful protest movement, the mothers have made protests in Latin America more effective. Thank you for listening. Details to my annotated bibliography should be associated with this video. Thank you.